All right, we're going to dive into a pretty provocative theory from one particular source. The argument that there's a deep internal war tearing the Democratic Party apart. And it's probably not the one you've been hearing about. Let's get right into it. So, this is the big question at the heart of the whole analysis we're looking at. The source material says, yes, a revolt is definitely happening. But to really get it, you kind of have to throw out what you think you know about how the party works on the inside. Okay, so to really understand this theory, we have to start where the source does, with how it actually frames the division itself. It's not just a disagreement. It's described as a fundamental schism, like a deep crack running right through the party's foundation. And this right here is the absolute key to the whole argument. The source says, hey, forget the usual labels, moderate, liberal, put them aside for a minute. The claim is that the real fight is between two groups that see the world in completely different ways. So who exactly are these two competing groups? Let's break down who the players are, at least according to how they're laid out in the source material.
Here you go, side by side. On one side, the source identifies the progressives, who it calls globalists wanting slow incremental change, and on the other, the socialists, who are described as revolutionaries looking for a total system overthrow. And really, when you boil it down, the main difference is their methods, slow evolution versus immediate all-out revolution.
So first up, the progressive faction. In this analysis, their whole strategy is about gaining control from the inside. They actually work with big corporations in these public-private partnerships. The goal isn't to tear down the system, but to kind of hollow it out, weaken it, all while keeping up what the source calls the illusion of America. And then you've got the socialist faction. Their goal is, well, the exact opposite. The source claims they have zero interest in partnerships. They want a full-blown revolution. The strategy? Create chaos. They believe the ends justify the means if it lets them completely replace the system, not just take control of it. So you have to ask, how did this supposed conflict get to this point? Well, the source argues this isn't some new fight that just popped up. Nope. It's the result of 100 years of frustration building and building over decades of what they see as broken promises. And this timeline really lays out that century of frustration. The source claims that ever since the early 1900s, the progressive side has been promising this utopia, but always saying, wait, we have to do it slowly. The 1960s, then Obama's election in 2008, those are framed as huge missed opportunities for a real revolution. And then, in 2016, nominating Hillary Clinton is presented as the absolute final straw. The source uses a really powerful and kind of perfect analogy for this whole dynamic. Lucy and the football from Peanuts. The socialist faction is Charlie Brown. They keep getting hyped up, told that this time, this election, they'll finally get to kick the ball. But every single time, at the last second, the progressive establishment, that's Lucy, yanks the ball away saying, nope, we're going to do this our way, nice and slow. All right, this brings us right to the core differences between these two groups, their goals, their tactics, what they're actually trying to achieve. Let's put them side by side and really see how they stack up based on the source material. This table, it really just lays the whole divide bare. Look at their supposed positions. On the Constitution, it's the difference between weaken it and get rid of it completely. On corporations, it's partner up versus destroy them. Even the media, friends and allies, versus drag them into the street. It all leads to that ultimate goal. The source claims one side wants global control from within, and the other wants to burn it all down and start a totally new social order. Okay, so all of this simmering frustration, this century of being told, wait your turn, it all leads to what the source calls the revolutionary playbook. The argument is that the game has finally changed, and there's been a dramatic shift in power. And this is the major turning point in the story. The decades of playing that Lucy in the football game, over. The source claims the revolutionary socialist side has just decided enough is enough. They're done waiting for permission, they're just going to take control themselves. This quote from the source material, wow, it really captures the entire feeling of this alleged takeover. It's not just a change in policy, it's a declaration that the old guard isn't leading anymore. The whole dynamic has flipped, and now the revolutionaries are calling the shots. So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, the source claims this power shift is directly responsible for an intentional increase in violence and economic chaos. The argument is that you need poverty and chaos to justify truly radical change. It also alleges that the old guard Democrats are now basically scared and just following orders. all part of a larger strategy to break the system so badly that it can't be fixed with small, slow steps. So, when you put it all together, the source's final conclusion is this. All the political drama we see on the news, that's just the surface stuff. The real game, it argues, is this internal war between two completely opposed ideologies, fighting for the very soul of the party. We've deconstructed this entire argument, piece by piece. So the final question the source leaves us with is this one. Are we all just watching a normal political contest? Or is this theory of a deep internal power struggle the real game that's being played right in front of us?